So I grew up, well, I was born in Massachusetts, but my family, my mother's side of the family has been in Baltimore since 1921, and we moved back to Baltimore, to Northwest Baltimore in 1992. And I lived between Northwest Baltimore and Pikesville from between 1992 until I went to college in 2001, and then I was back and forth between college and Pikesville until 2005. So yeah, I basically lived between Northwest Baltimore, Pikesville, between 1992 and 2005. And I've spent a lot of time here during that. And the time since, I've also worked here a couple times. I worked at 7 Mile Market for a while. I worked at Goldberg's Bagels for a while. So I've spent time up here in those capacities as well. So my experience interacting with people of different racial, ethnic, and religious backgrounds has been kind of mixed. I mean, when the school I went to in Baltimore is Beth Tefillah, which is a Jewish school, so it was basically 100% Jewish and almost entirely white. I mean, not entirely white, but for the most part, pretty much majority white. I had a few friends who were Latino when I was growing up and Asian, but for the most part, all of my friends growing up, other than that, were white. And in my neighborhood, there were, I had black neighbors that I interacted with, but didn't really have like close friendships with. I didn't really have friendships with black people until I went to college. When I was in high school, we had a few different things. There was something called the Blues program, with the Blacks and Jews program, where there were some different kind of gatherings of Black and Jewish youth, and so we had some interactions like that. But I think for a lot of my youth, it was mostly white social circle, mostly Jewish social circle. So how to bring diverse communities together in Northwest Baltimore? I mean, it's a tricky question. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I think that there's really deep history of racial segregation in Northwest Baltimore. So I think on some levels there needs to be some real structural changes, maybe having to do with schools and housing. I think that there's some level of things that people can do kind of interpersonally. Like I said, when I was a kid, there was some attempts to bring mostly white Jewish and Black non-Jewish communities together that I don't think were always successful, but I think that they were kind of a good start. I think that, finding ways to get kids together is important. I had some level of interaction with people of different racial and ethnic and religious backgrounds through sports and through culture, through music especially when I was younger. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's a really big question, and yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, so advice that I would give to younger people in this area is, Baltimore is great. I love Baltimore. I think that it gets, really dumped on a lot by people both within the city and outside the city and in the county and around the world, and, even by our former president. I mean, people really love to beat up on Baltimore, and I think that a good piece of advice is, there's a lot of reasons why people want to leave the city and want to, leave. But I think that there's also a lot of reasons to stay. And I think that it's important to stay and try to fight for a better city. And I think figuring out ways to do that based on your own interests, like whether that is through teaching or through whatever kind of field that you want to get into. For me, I I have professionally been a journalist for the past decade or so, and have spent most of that time in Baltimore. And so yeah, finding ways that you can kind of serve the city and serve the neighborhood, and also that it's like, it's all right to get out of your neighborhood too. I mean, I now live in Northeast Baltimore and I really love it. And that, like, even if your family is here, it's okay to move to another neighborhood too. I think Baltimore can be really like small-timore, and we can get really into like our own neighborhoods and stuff. And I think that's really great, but I think that it's also fine to spread out and go somewhere else in the city. Yeah, I think some of my fondest memories of this area really come from when I was in high school and in a little bit older, in my early 20s, and really was able to kind of get around a little bit more, socialize a little bit more. When I was a kid, it was, I was kind of limited to where I could walk to or ride my bike to. And I think as I got older and was able to kind of socialize more and had my own job and kind of, had a life beyond my like block, I was able to hang out more and meet more people. And yeah, I mean, some of my fondest memories are just hanging around and loitering in the summertime in a park or in a school like playground or something with some friends and just hanging out. I don't know. It's nothing super profound, but I think it's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city in the summertime, and yeah, just being with my friends in my late teens, early 20s. It was good times. So if I can make changes in the neighborhood, I mean, I would really hope that the public schools could be improved. I mean, there is state funding that is supposed to be coming through based out of the Kerwin Commission that is supposed to be improving a lot of the school buildings, and I really hope that goes according to plan. I mean, I think that giving kids the best possible outcomes is probably the most important thing that we can be doing for the neighborhoods. I think that there's pretty good public transportation in the area, but I think improving some of that too. I think there is, I just know from growing up and walking around a lot that people drive really fast, and that that there's a lot of places where you're crossing streets, and it seems like a small thing, but I think that improving some of the street safety and layout, making some better bus stops is a way to improve some of that. And I think that figuring out ways to keep the housing in the neighborhood as affordable as possible, I mean, that's a really big, I don't know exactly how you do that, but I know that housing is getting more expensive across all of the city, and I think that that maintaining affordable housing and figuring out ways to expand affordable housing and also public housing in the neighborhood is really important to the future of the neighborhood. So some of the things that made Northwest Baltimore special and that I appreciate about it include, the people. I think that some of the coolest people that I know are from Park Heights and from around Northwest Baltimore. Some friends that I've had for a long time, and also friends that I've made since I've moved away from the area. Are either from here or grew up here or lived here at a different time. I think that there's a real kind of like culture to the neighborhood and to the neighborhoods in general around here that is really unique and is really different and is really special. And I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, I mean, the people here are among the coolest in the city that I think also, I think that has attracted immigrant communities, whether it's from the Caribbean, whether it's from Russia and Ukraine, from different places in the world. And I think that there's been able to be, that all those immigrant communities have really added a lot to the neighborhood. And now I know that there's more Central American immigrants coming in, and I think that that's great. I think that one of the things that's special about Northwest Baltimore is that people can kind of maintain the things that are special about their culture. And I think that that's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think that sometimes there's a lot of segregation that exists, and especially the community that I grew up in, the white Jewish community. I think that sometimes there's a real sort of like, people are scared of interacting with people who are not like themselves, and I think that that's also a real trend that exists in Northwest Baltimore that I don't think is positive. But I do think it's special that there are lots of unique cultures that exist up here, and people can maintain those cultural traditions.